Hey everyone, I'll get you to the show in just a second, but did you know if you head over to redmenplus.com, you'll get access to all our amazing content. Plus, if you sign up as a club legend, you will be entered into our monthly prize competition where we give away some incredible signed Liverpool gear. So go over and do it. Hello everybody and welcome to the Redmen TV. This is the Start 11 Prediction Show. My name is Dan Clubb and I am here to attempt to decide what Jurgen Klopp will do for the FA Cup third round replay against Wolverhampton Wanderers Tuesday night at Molineux. So yeah, I'm here to decide which one of these wonderful lot of Liverpool footballers will start the game in the Midlands. If you're watching this on Twitter, make sure you head over now, click the link to come over to YouTube to give me a hand in the chat, just to attempt to decide an 11, because let's be honest, it could be anyone. It really could be anyone. Of those available, it's going to be a bit of a struggle to get a boss 11 out there. So let's come and do it. Come and give me a hand. Let's see what we can do. I'll jump straight into it then. Make sure you commented in the chat to give me a hand on the way. Some of you already started doing that, which is much appreciated. LFC Wayne Williams says, it's all good, looking forward to the game tomorrow. Come on, Liverpool. Yeah, looking forward to it is kind. That's something. And I wanted to bring up an early chat from Amin, which says scrap 4-3-3, which is something I'm going to come on to a little bit later. We'll see if I decide to do that in my Start 11 prediction. But yeah, first and foremost, going to get into it. Going to get rid of the players who simply aren't going to be involved through injury, which is obviously, unfortunately, is Virgil van Dijk. He is one of those who will not be playing. He will not be featuring for a while, unfortunately. Adrian, a lot of time for the fella, but it's not going to happen for him in this one. We'll drop him down there as well. Who else have we got missing through injury? Nat Phillips is still in contention. Thiago the Ox, Curtis Jones, Diogo Jota is still out for a while, of course, with that calf problem that seems to never go away. We'll drop him on the floor for now. Ben Doak is a shout for this one. Bobby Firmino, I don't think he's going to be back and available. Jurgen Klopp has very recently finished his press conference. There was no real word on Firmino, but I think he pretty much suggested the other day that he's going to be a little while away. Yeah, having originally meant to be back for the Brentford game, I think it was originally. But yeah, he's not quite ready to feature just yet either. Darwin Núñez is an interesting one in this conversation because he obviously has been struggling the last week or so. He missed the drubbing, the absolutely horrendous, dismal performance at Brighton. But Jurgen Klopp has said that this man is very close. So fingers crossed we do see him at Wolves, we do see him at Molineux. So I'm going to keep him in the mix just for now. James Milner is also back after his hamstring problem. He might be featuring in this one. And I think Bajcetic is back as well. He had a hip problem. He's back and in contention. And I think that's everything in terms of fitness. So that leaves us, yeah, I think I'm right. That leaves us with nothing left to do other than decide the actual start 11, which is obviously the crux of the issue here. We've had a couple of 11s come in, we've had a couple of suggestions come in. JD74 says play Bajcetic, Elliott and Carvalho and Doak because they can't do any worse than on Saturday. I tend to agree with you on the last point, to be honest. Something Jurgen Klopp suggested, imitated in his press conference as well, actually, in terms of freshening things up, get some fresh legs in there. I think he's pretty much confirmed that there will be some changes to this 11. So it's up to us to decide what those changes will be, and we'll start, of course, with the goalkeeper. He's already said Alisson is his FA Cup keeper, so Alisson stays in there. I think Kelleher is a wonderful goalkeeper. What happens with his future remains to be seen, actually, but that's not a conversation for this show. We'll have Kelleher on the bench over here, and we've got Alisson in net, who is one of the lads who's actually can probably be half proud of his performances of late, unlike a lot of them. We'll come to left back. It's not going to be Bukanate, I think that's safe to say. Those two obviously started at centre half on the weekend. I'll come to that in just a second. I think we might see a change there. But my first change is going to come at left back. Obviously, it's between Robbo and Tsimikas. It'd be easy to go with Robertson again because he's the first choice in that position. But I think one of the changes that Klopp might be making for this one, which he said in his press conference, I think we will see Kostas Tsimikas come in. We've seen him a lot in the cup competitions. I think Klopp's been searching for his best form from his key players, which Robertson is one of. But I think we've gone beyond that now. I think he might need a rest. I think he might be saving him for Chelsea on the weekend. So I'm going to put him on the bench and I'm going to go with Tsimikas as our left back for this one. Just going to come back to the comments before we move on. There's some agreement with playing some of the youngsters. We've had a shout for 5-3-2 as well, which at this point I will say I am going with 4-3-3. We spoke on the match build-up show actually about potentially changing the formation. I personally don't think Jurgen Klopp wants to change the formation. I think if he had it his way, we'd just be boss at 4-3-3 and we'd just play that a lot better than we have been doing. And also, he's literally probably had a day off on Sunday to forget about that Brighton game if he possibly could, if he slept at all after Saturday, who knows. Therefore, he's had like 1 day of potentially light training, which would probably be today. He's not likely to change the system in that period of time, if you ask me. So I'm sticking with 4-3-3. I am not sticking with Ibou Konate. I think he could be one of the people to come out of the firing line for this match as well. Let's be honest, he's probably going to start the Chelsea game. So I think he gets a rest here. Drop him on the bench. The bench is looking really congested, which is never a great sign when you're doing these things. In terms of who fits that first centre-back slot, I think it might be Nat Phillips. We've barely seen him, obviously. I think he thought he was off this month, to be honest with you, but Virgil's injury has probably put pay to any potential move. I think he'll start the match, and I think he'll start the match alongside Joe Gomez, which is 3 sweeping changes. Maybe not necessarily what I'd do. I think I'd have one of Matip or Konate in there personally, but I think Klopp might go wholesale when it comes to those two. But I do think Trent starts. I do think Trent starts at right back. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with that back four. I'll come back to it a little bit later to address it. But I think Trent starts. I think Trent's been one of the few players, like Alisson, to show his true colours in recent weeks. I think his form's actually been okay. Probably not at his scintillating best, but he's been okay. Plus the fact that he was one of the more gutted players after Saturday's dismal display. He came out and said we need to put it right. So I think for that reason and a couple of other reasons, he deserves to start this game and be one of the players to show what he's all about. Comes to the midfield now. I've already said it's going to be a 4-3-3. We've seen these three predominantly in recent weeks. And let's be dead honest about it, it hasn't worked. That engine room hasn't worked at all. As much quality and experience is in there, it's not been happening whatsoever in there, let's be honest. So I'm going to change all three of them. I'm going to do it all in one fell swoop as well. We're going to drag, my magnets come off. That's heartbreaking. We're going to drag all three midfielders away. If Thiago's going to stay there, he does just about stay there. Henderson can go there, Fabinho can go there. And in the midfield, I'm going to bring James Milner in. Vastly experienced, obviously, the sort of player who will actually sort of command something from those around him. And I think we've been missing that leadership badly in the last few weeks. If Andy Robertson's not going to start, if Henderson's not going to be around, if Virgil's obviously injured, I think we need a true leader. And I think it's going to be James Milner. I really do. Please, as ever, let me know in the comments if you disagree entirely with that. We've got Malik saying you go Bezetic, Naby and Milner. Yeah, Bezetic is an interesting one. For this, I was tempted to go with him in there. MJ Mango actually says, Trent at right back. No. Who do you think then? Like Calvin Ramsey, potentially. We've hardly seen him. You could do Milner at right back, potentially. I'm not sure. He's come back. So Klopp has always been very rigid. He sticks to his guns with little alterations. Yeah, he inspires like no one else. I certainly agree with the last point. There's a lot of calls for 3-5-2 here. Like I said earlier, I just don't see a change of formation. I think it's too short notice to do that. I'm going to stick with Milner in the 6. Bezetic, he's just back from injury. Like he's missed like a week and a half, 2 weeks worth of football. He's trained maybe for a day or two. He's really young, he's really inexperienced. Our midfield has been getting overrun in recent weeks. I don't love it any more than you guys do. I really don't, but I think we're going to see James Milner. I really do. And I think we're going to see Naby Keita in on the left-hand side of him. A player whose future clearly remains massively in doubt, probably on his way out of the club at the end of the season, if we're going to be brutally honest about it. But what he has done in recent weeks is he's shown some signs of dynamic form, if you like, in sort of fits and starts, much like his Liverpool career in general, to be dead honest about it. So yeah, I think we might see Naby Keita alongside James Milner, and I'm going to go for Harvey Elliott. I think part of Jurgen's call for fresh legs might just be getting younger lads in there who are willing to run about and are willing to give it for the cause, because there's been not enough of that in the midfield in recent weeks. Harvey Elliott, when he came on at Brighton, the game was gone by that point. Like Brighton were home and dry, Liverpool were done and dusted. He did run about and he did sort of press and he did sort of show some willingness to fight. And at the minute, there's not much more we can ask for as Liverpool fans, unfortunately. It's been that bad. Obviously, now I've mentioned Harvey Elliott, loads of people are going mad in the chat saying, don't do it. Mr. J Manga comes back with, he's pleased with Naby Keita. I'm glad about that. Royos 2.0 says Thiago will start. we're going to run Thiago into the ground. We are going to run Thiago Alcantara into the ground. He is our most important midfielder, in my opinion. We've got Chelsea at the weekend. I'm not underestimating how important Wolves is because I really want to win this game. But he can't just keep playing him. He can't, if we're not going to sign a midfielder, which who knows right now, we might do, we might not. Thiago is so important, and we can't just keep playing him time and time again. He's going to fall apart, basically. Somebody, Maniac Mindset, says Curtis Jones. Yeah, I'd like to see Curtis Jones. It's just impossible to know where he's at in terms of his fitness and his actual footballing readiness all the time, I'd say. So I'm going to stick with that midfield. I will come back to it a little bit later just to double down on it. And then front three time. So obviously we know we've got no Jota. We know we've got no Luis Diaz. We know we've got no Roberto Firmino. Darwin Núñez is touch and go. So we've got a few options here. Maybe tinker, maybe to play around with a little bit. Mohamed Salah is another one who falls into that category of players you'd probably rather not play in this game if you could avoid it. I don't think we can avoid it, so I think he starts. I think he starts in his favoured position, which is obviously from the right wing. I actually think Oxlade-Chamberlain starts this game of football as well, and I think he starts in the 9. I don't love it. I really don't, but I think it's that sort of thing. We can't risk Darwin Núñez straight away from the off because he's just back to fitness potentially. So I think we might have to go with the Ox from there. Just going to look at it from this side as well. We might have to go for the Ox in the 9. And then I think we're going to go Cody Gakpo from the left-hand side, which quite clearly is his favoured position. Jurgen Klopp tinkered with stuff a little bit at the weekend in terms of Gakpo came central and we had Thiago in some sort of weird 10 role that meant he didn't kick the football anymore, which really wasn't ideal in my opinion. What this front three does give us is some interchangeable. It can swap and change, like those two can easily switch over. Salah can also do that role and Chamberlain will come out to the right. We've seen him play there before. I remember when Salah and Mane were at AFCON, Oxlade-Chamberlain was the right winger for a few weeks. There are options in these positions, I'm fully aware of that. Carvalho can come in. A lot of people in the chat calling for Ben Doak as well, which I'm actually kind of on board with in many senses. But 17-year-old kid, like Liverpool need to win this football match. Like make no bones about it. As much as I'm tinkering with the lineup, Liverpool need to win because winning brings confidence, and we haven't got much confidence at the minute. This is a match that Liverpool need to go into, and they need to get out of whichever way they can, having progressed to the 4th round. So I think Salah could be a part of that. That's not to say Ben Doak isn't talented because he really is. I just don't know about him starting a big game right now. I really don't. I'm going to come to the chat before I carry on. Yeah, Malik has said play Ben Doak or anyone instead, even switch Ox and Harvey. Yeah, the Harvey Elliott thing's interesting. There's been some calls for him to play on the wing. I think with Harvey Elliott, we've already kind of said to him as a footballer, you're going to be a midfielder. So to then suddenly say, oh, by the way, can you come back on the wing now? Doesn't feel like something Jurgen Klopp would do to me. He might do, and we might rest Salah. I think Elliott's lack of pace is why he's not a natural winger. So for me, I think he goes back into that sort of new midfield role that we've given him, and we give those two a run at it with his experience in behind. But listen, we're clutching. Malik says, what has poor Fabio done wrong? It's an interesting point, actually, because I raised it on the weekend. Like, we made 4 changes on the weekend, and the game went horrendously pretty much from start to finish, and at no point did Fabio Carvalho look like coming on. And it's interesting because earlier on this season he was using Carvalho a little bit, so I don't know what's happened, whether it be something tactical in a game he has not been doing right for Klopp, or I don't know what's going on. But all of a sudden I agree, he doesn't fancy Fabio Carvalho much. Simon Cook says Ox has been non-existent. Yeah, well, yeah, I tend to agree with you, unfortunately. But listen, if Darwin Núñez was fully fit and firing, I'd go full strength. I'd go Núñez in there. I'd go Gakpo, Salah, give him an hour, hopefully get the game wrapped up, and then take him off and bring on Ben Doak, Ox, Fabio Carvalho, Curtis Jones, etc. But I think it's going to be a mix and match of experience with a little bit of youth as well. And yeah, we'll see. A couple more comments. Yeah, Ian says Carvalho and Gakpo. Again, I think that's a good shout. I think Carvalho could easily come into that role, but we haven't seen him for weeks. Klopp doesn't fancy him all of a sudden, so I don't know if that's what we're going to see. More shouts to Fabio, yeah, I do agree. Yeah, he said there's no problem between. I'm not suggesting there's a problem between Carvalho and Klopp, by the way. I just think there might be something tactically he's not quite doing, or he does this a lot in terms of pulling players out the firing line. It could just be as simple as that. I'm going to come to the bench. I've already mentioned Kelleher. He's obviously a shoe-in for the bench. I think Canate will be on there as well. He's going to get out of the way. He's probably the key to this substitutes bench, Darwin Núñez, if we're going to be honest, because bringing him on at any stage in the match changes the way the entire front three looks. You could bring him on from the left and go Gakpo. You could put Salah central on the back of that. So hopefully, Jurgen Klopp saying he was very close means he's at least on the bench. I think Bajcetic should probably be on the bench. You could easily do him and Milner, I've already said, but yeah, he'll be on the bench. He'll probably feature at some point. The much talked about Fabio Carvalho will be on there. I'm almost certain of that as well. Robbo will be on there. I think Ben Doak will be on there, and he could be the change for Mohamed Salah, potentially after an hour, especially if the game's going well. Maybe in any case, regardless of the situation of the game, we might see Doak for Salah because he is going to want to rest this man at some point. His form's not perfect. He'll want goals, but he can't play every minute, much like Thiago. And on the point of Thiago, he will almost certainly be on the bench. He's got one magnet less than he did a minute ago. That's why he's falling a little bit. This bench is tough because there's some experienced lads down there missing out. I don't know about Curtis Jones. You've got Hendo, Fabinho and Matip all here, all waiting to find out if they're going to be on the bench. I'm going to come to the chat just to get a little bit of help on that. Someone says, have Bajcetic in for Elliott. He's not a centre mid. If he's not a centre mid, I don't know what he is, Harvey Elliott, to be honest with you, because people have already said he's not a winger. If he's not a centre mid, then we've got a real problem there. Instigator DJ says there's no way Klopp will make as many changes after he played a strong team in the first fixture. I agree, and he says he has to go strongest. Well, I don't agree with that because he's already said he's going to make changes in the press conference. So I think we will be seeing some changes. Mr. J Mango says Elliott is a 10. Yeah, I think I tend to agree, which is kind of what he does in here, isn't it? If he has the licence to do so, he will pop into that 10 position. I think that's probably right. Favi says play Gakpo in the 9 and Doak on the left. No. Ben Doak will feature on the right, I'm almost certain of it. You can't play a just turned 17-year-old kid out of position away at Wolves. If he does, I stand corrected. But that is insane to me personally. I don't see how we can get away with that, quite frankly. More calls for different formations. I just don't see it. I think he's got to go 4-3-3. We've had half a day's training potentially since Saturday. Can't change formation. He hasn't got the personnel or the time to change formation right now. I'd like to. We just haven't got time to do it. He literally did versus Brighton. If you're referring to formation, yeah, he did. It didn't work in the slightest. Not in the slightest. The first half was probably worse than the second half, quite frankly. He moved Thiago into some sort of 10 role. He barely had a kick. It didn't work whatsoever. Yeah. Mario on the bench. Don't know who Mario is. I'm going to come. We've got some people saying Milner for Trent, Henderson at 6, Carvalho for Gakpo. Remember we played Chelsea Saturday midday. Yeah, I do remember that. I think Henderson does make the bench on that note. I'm just about the bench. I mean, we've got Jones, Fabinho and Matip missing out on the squad altogether there, which seems insane to me. We might not see Bajcetic on the bench. We might see Fabinho instead, because he's only just back from that hip problem. He's still very young. You might get some more experience on there. Yeah. I'm just going to gloss over it one more time before we wrap up because it's a tough one. We might not see Nat Phillips here. Anyway, yeah, the 11 then. So let me know your 11s now, full stop, if you could, please, before we finish. Someone says Fabio, Salah and Doak. Yeah, oh God, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough. We've got Alisson in goal, Tim McCaster at left back, Nat Phillips, Joe Gomez, Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back. Got a midfield 3 of James Milner, Naby Keita and Harvey Elliott. And a front 3 of Cody Gakpo, the Ox and Mohamed Salah. On the bench then, we've got Kelleher, Núñez, Ben Doak, Ibu Konate, Fabio Carvalho, Andy Robertson, Jordan Henderson and Thiago Alcantara. Yeah, I mean, Jurgen Klopp has said he will make changes. He needs fresh legs. So all those saying play his strongest team, don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. We've got Chelsea, obviously, on Saturday coming to Anfield as well. So we're going to need to be strong for that one. It's going to be a bit of a mix and match. He's going to want to get some rest into some plays. He's going to want to get some minutes into some others. It's really tough at the minute because we're not playing well for a start. We're playing horrendously. He probably wants to change the formation but hasn't got time to do it. He probably wants to change massive personnel, but he hasn't got the quality to do it. It's a bit of a nightmare. Just before we wrap up, then I'm going to come back to the comments one more time. Mr. J Mango, has been very active in the chat. I do appreciate that. He said, Alisson, Gomez, Phillips, Canate, Tsimikas, Bajcetic, Elliott, Keita, Salah, Nunes, Carvalho. I like the 11. I just don't know how he can play Darwin Nunes, having been missing for a week and a bit. And he's just said he's very close. He's very close, sort of 24 hours at time of recording before kickoff. He's got to be immensely close for that to be the case. I just don't see him starting the game. He wouldn't risk him. Because imagine he starts. We've got Chelsea on the weekend. He does his hamstring or something really bad happens. No, doesn't happen for me. We miss Nunes so much. Yeah, I tend to agree with that, most certainly. Going to try one more 11 before I wrap up. Someone said Kelleher, Ramsey, Canate, Nat, Simi. Yes, Ramsey. Okay, Ramsey. Fabinho, Ox and Jones in the midfield. Carvalho, Nunes and Salah. Again, I've said about Nunes, I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening at all. Somebody says, is Gakpo not playing there? Cody Gakpo is there. Fabinho needs a rest for me. I'd change the whole midfield. I'm sticking by that. I'd change the whole midfield. And Curtis Jones, if someone could guarantee me Curtis Jones is fit and available and will be part of the Matchday squad, then there's an argument to say maybe there. There's an argument to say maybe there. I'm just not entirely sure that's the case. And I haven't seen him play football very much recently. So, that'll be it. That's my 11. That's my bench. I'm prepared to be massively wrong, and I'll deal with the consequences after. But that is all we've got time for the Start 11 prediction show. I will see you all again soon. Make sure you join us for the watch along and all the team news reaction and all the fallout afterwards, where hopefully Liverpool can reach the 4th round of the FA Cup by hook or by crook. But I've been Dan Klopp. That's been the Start 11 prediction, and I will speak to you again soon. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. Did you know that if you go over to redmenplus.com and sign up as a Club Legend subscriber, I will personally email you every single month with a new code which gets you 20% off at redmenmerch.com. That's a no-brainer. Go and do it.